The world's a much different place now than it was just 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Man, if you go back 40 or 50 years, it's just ridiculous. I'm in my 30s, and I think back to the, you know, 90s, early 2000s, even I remember some of the 80s kind of like as a little kid with cartoons and stuff like that, but for the most part, like I was a 90s kid, and you know, we live in a really insane world now, man. And it's got that way very quickly through constant brainwashing from the media and the government and fear mongering. I mean, dude, when I was a kid, everyone. When I was a kid, like, kids brought, like, deer rifles and shotguns to grade school for show and tell, and dirt bikes and shit. When I was a kid, you know, the parents used to drive around with, you know, rifles and shotguns in their pickup truck, in the gun rack in their truck, right out in plain sight. And they could park at a store, leave their doors unlocked and their windows open. Hell, they could leave their keys in the car with the car running and people wouldn't steal it. Or their guns, for the most part. People could leave their doors unlocked. Kids would go, hop on their bikes and ride miles away with their friends and go play in the woods by themselves. Kids would walk miles to school by themselves without any friends even. School and back. And be fine. Men and women, or boys and girls, whatever, could talk to each other, could make friends. You could find a girlfriend. You could talk to a complete stranger or girl and just say, "Hey, baby, how's it going?" Or heck, even slap her on the butt or something, or she could grab your ass, or she could, whatever, And you could see, like, you could hear music, if like, or when I was like a young teenager or something, even in the early late 90s, early 2000s, man. If there was like a party going on somewhere, and you heard some music playing, you saw, lights going, or people you didn't even know, complete strangers, you could just go knock on their door and say, "Hey, man, is there a party going on?" And somebody would say, "Yeah, come on in, dude. What's your name?" Shake your hand. You walk in the door, right? You used to just, you know, for, or people get together, like, kids were safe to sit on a stranger's, somebody, I don't know, family member, or friend or something of the parents could sit on the knee without being accused of being a pedophile, right? Uh, Freaking normal thing. I don't know. Like, kids weren't like these deified, and everyone wasn't, all the normal people. Like, people could sort of had trust for the neighbors. They could leave their doors unlocked and stuff. I don't think it's that much different now, and the crime levels haven't. Do you realize that, back then, like the police departments and all our little local cities and stuff? I mean, you guys who live in big cities might not realize, L.A. or Detroit, Chicago might not realize this kind of stuff, but like, I mean, even you guys, the police departments you guys used to have in your cities, man, were probably like the size of or smaller than the police departments we now have in little backwater hick towns in the middle of nowhere. I was driving through this place, it looks like something from a time capsule, this nearby town, And I thought, oh hey, it's like closest thing to Mayberry around here, except for the tweakers, right? But then I stopped off at Weimar and I look over to the side and there's this big fucking building, like 4 or 5 stories high, huge thing. It's the freaking police station. Like, holy shit! Like, I thought I was looking at something out of like, Chicago or Los Angeles or something. Like holy shit! This little fucking, one horse town kind of place. And they got stuff like that around everywhere now. They got fucking, tanks and fucking mine-resistant armored personnel carriers and heavy armor. You remember back in the day, like in what was it, the 90s or something? Uh, they made a movie about these, like, crazy bank robber guys or whatever. It's a movie called 44 Minutes or something, right? Well, okay, they might not have been, the police may have been ill-equipped somewhat, but dude, that sort of shit never happened though, In reality, no, that sort of shit never really fucking happened. It was just like a very rare kind of thing. I mean, the police, their cars used to say to protect and serve on the side of them, and they were called peace officers and public servants. The governors, senators, congressmen, oh, damn. Well, just politicians in general were called public servants, and yeah, that's what they would call themselves by, and they're public servants. And, I mean, the police back then were, in most places, were closer to like, you seen the show Longmire? It was like, or even, I mean, not Mayberry anymore, but a little more like Longmire, honestly. You had, in towns, and even counties, they would have different departments everywhere, and there'd be, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 cops or something would watch over an area of pretty large, kind of large area, I guess, for that many people. But they did a good job, and yeah, the crime rate was lower back then. Why do you think that is? Do you think a bunch of new criminals just suddenly appeared, or could it have some? Could one thing have to do with another? Could the fact that there's like 10 or 20 or 100 times more police running around, pushing people around, or something scary? I don't know. Could that have anything to do with the massively increasing rates in crime and violence? Could the media's constant fear mongering have anything to do with why everyone's been buying guns, and why everyone's, has locked their doors, and everyone's afraid of their neighbors and afraid of strangers, and nobody talks to each other anymore? A guy can't get a girlfriend anymore because girls are scared to death that the guy's gonna be some psycho killer or something, because the news spends fucking months running stories about some guy, you know, some random fucking thing that almost never happens. They just run stories about it over and over and over to try and scare the shit out of everyone, to keep people from being able to get along with each other, from being able to meet people, you know. And they set it up, yeah, they set it up in a way to make women afraid of men, and then they also make men afraid of women with the family court system, and the way that they basically If there's ever a divorce, they just give everything to the woman, the kids, the money, the So you know, and then I mean, and they make everyone so afraid. Like, I mean, it's like they got all the kids wrapped in a freaking bubble or something. Hell, they at this point actually, technically, they have all of us wrapped in a bubble, don't they? They've got you covering your face up so you can't get a fresh breath of air. You're breathing in your own bacteria and your own carbon monoxide. And, you know, oxygen bad, trust the news, trust the government. They're helping us, Can't you see how, I mean, have you ever considered the strange, remote, crazy possibility that the massive, massive increase in government power and militarism could somehow coincide with the change in the social dynamic in our country? Could it be possible that the media was colluding to make everyone afraid and to set neighbor against neighbor, man against woman, woman against man, children against parents, parents against, against neighbor? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's being set apart, divided along, false political narrative lines, and being taught to hate and fear one another for trivial things, while meanwhile there's this super wealthy, super powerful authoritarian power that's taking away your rights and your property, telling you what you can and can't do, where you can and can't walk, how late you can be out or can't be out, and telling you what articles of clothing you have to wear on your face. And now they want your other rights, don't they? Well, there was a time in this country when they called themselves public servants, and our police protected and served the people of the cities and counties that hired them and funded them. But it seems that the times, they are changing, doesn't it? I mean, I guess I'll end it there. I could say quite a bit more on the subject, but it is what it is, right? I think we need to turn the clock back.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure inoculation. Take a look, and you'll see to your own depopulation. We'll begin with a syringe, testing out my very own creation. What we'll see will defy scientific explanation. If you want a scientific paradise, simply wear a mask and view it. Anything we say, you'll do it. Want to rule the world?
There's nothing to it.
Whoa.